Hello there, my name is Gurgle528 and I'm going to guide you on how to use Zeus, the new Arma 3 game mode. First off, you'll want to set the parameters up. God mode enables Zeus to spawn whatever he wants, whenever he wants. It's by default disabled, but if it's enabled, he does not have points that limit him, and when it is disabled, the way he gets points is if players find intel or complete objectives or shoot down helicopters, which is really specific, but it's not something you can change. Game moderator writes, by default they cannot create objects and they can only edit the objects that Zeus spawns. You can change this to allow them to create all objects, which allows them to be Zeus as well, or create only modules, which allows them to spawn artillery and close air support, along with chem lights, smoke, and they can spawn lightning. And they can also control AI manually. This controls how far Zeus can edit objects and spawn objects from players. It's useful if Zeus is a player that you don't know and you don't want him just to spawn a clusterfuck of lightning on people. But it's also annoying if you want to set up a base while the players are there. So I usually leave it off, but I'm also usually Zeus, so I trust myself. This controls what side independents will not shoot at and what side will not shoot at the independents. It's best left off in my opinion, but you can do whatever. Admin debug console is something useful for script errors. I prefer to leave it off myself, but if you're a scripter and you have a custom mission, you might want to turn it on. And now it's time to show you the actual workings of Zeus. When you get in the game, you'll be greeted with a random map location. It'll ask you to spawn the respawn points. These will be the initial spawn for players, and they'll be the spawns afterward as well. You may or may not want to move them at some point, and you're free to do so. You can move them, and you can also delete them if you need to, but you'll have to place them again if you want players to spawn. Loadouts are useful if you want, like, say a diving mission and you don't want the CSAT spawning as anything but divers. You can just uncheck all of these. Okay, fuck that. And then just spawn divers. In order to spawn a unit, which is an AI unit, click the Units tab, which is marked by a single man. Expand any of the items in a tree, and you can spawn off-roads, riflemen, whatever you want. If you want to alter a squad or create a squad, hold Control, click a unit icon, and drag your mouse to another unit icon. Also note, if you want to spawn an empty vehicle, you'll have to go to the Empty tab, which has many items. If you'd like a unit to be on a vehicle, right now in Zeus there's no way to actually order them in. You have to actually drag the unit onto the vehicle, and then they'll be on it. There's also no way to get them out, so you'll have to go to the Edit tab, which can be opened by pressing E, drag the unit, click on the unit in the Edit tab, you'll see them, and you can just drag them out of the vehicle. In the squad menu, you'll have the four squad stances. Stealth is where they're quiet and they'll be whispering, and they're harder to hear, they'll always be proning. Combat is where they'll be crouching or proning and they'll be looking for enemies. Aware is just them standing around. And relaxed is them standing around but not looking for enemies. If an enemy goes right in front of them, they will see them. You can also change the squad stance from here, and then they'll sit down. In the individual unit editor, you can open a unit, you can change their skill. Their skill doesn't change too much, but the AI is really bad, unless you have a headless client server, which you'll need a custom mission to do that, and it's too much to get into for this tutorial. You can change their rank, which will influence who gets promoted when a squad has their leader killed, and you can change their health. And you can kill them like this, but it's a dumb way to kill them. You can just press delete to delete them. The normal way to kill them is by pressing end, which just, in this case, since it's a vehicle, it blows up. Copy and pasting is a thing in Zeus. Let's say you have a unit and you want to copy and paste them. It's still Control-C and Control-V, but the copying is relative to your mouse cursor. So if I copy over at this rock and place him, and I want to place him over in this little specific patch of grass, I'll find that I don't even know where he went. That's because copy and pasting is relative to the mouse cursor. If you want to be exact or more exact, I like to put the mouse over the icon, Control-C, Control-V. As I accidentally demonstrated, you can order units around by right-click. There are some limitations. This is a move waypoint. You cannot change the type of waypoint. If you right-click an enemy unit, it'll be a destroy waypoint. This doesn't change much for infantry, but it does limit some things, like vehicles such as helicopters. They will never land, but you can do this yourself by going to Modules, Zeus, Remote Control, and then clicking here. And you can control this man. Now, if you have a squad, if this man was a squad leader, and in the bottom left there's normally the squad control menu, this will never be there in Zeus because this guy is technically a UAV, which sounds pretty much as silly as it is. This also means that your voice via direct communication will not be projected by this man. See, I'm going to hold down my voice thing and see how he's not talking. See, he's not talking. It's projected by you still. I don't know how this works with Zeus in regards to direct communication, but side and global. Side will be with the other Zeus, if there is one. Objectives. Objectives are very useful. I'm going to go over attack and defend first. Attack and defend, let's say you want them to control this airport. You'll actually want to do this via the map because attack and defend is a radius-based objective, which means people capture it by being within a certain radius. And you can see this radius on the map, but not in the normal view. I'm going to make it 50 meters because that's fairly reasonable. Now the way you choose who can capture this and who can defend it, it's just click. Whichever is highlighted and bigger can capture it. So I'm going to make Op 4 be the attackers, and let's just name it airport. If somebody captures this though, it cannot be captured back, and you can also not delete it, which I personally don't like to use this. It also creates the ticket system, which you don't have to use, but if you do use it, I'm just going to sidetrack real quick. Scenario flow, respawn tickets. What these do is if teams run out of these, they lose. So let's say an Op 4 engineer or grenadier manages to capture the airport. This will disappear and Blue 4 will not be able to recapture it. Zeus will not be able to delete it, so it's just stuck on the map. Also, when this is not being controlled and the team still needs to capture it, it will reduce tickets. And let's say there's 3 teams. Green team is still going to be losing tickets while Op 4 controls this, and if you don't watch that, you can inadvertently destroy the scenario. And if the opposing team captures it, the original owner of it will start losing tickets as well. Control sector is, in my opinion, the better version of this because it's basically the same, except it doesn't by default have an owner. So you can just select everybody to be able to conquer it, except for civilians because nobody likes them. And I'll just say building because I don't know what building that is. So by default it's not captured, but you can just change that by putting somebody in there, and then it'll capture. That's basically straightforward. It's just kind of like a King of the Hill thing, and if necessary you can just delete it later as well, which is nice. That's why I don't like attack and defend that much. Custom objective, let's say you have a civilian. He's being held hostage. Actually, I think a journalist is more appropriate for this. I just deleted him, didn't I? He is hostage. You'll probably want to set a custom objective on him, which you can do like this. Sorry, I just wanted to do that. Like this says, you have to do it manually, which can be a pain in the butt. And the owner, let's say Blue 4 is the police, you want them to save this hostage. So this will be what appears on the map, and this will be what the objective is called. You'll have to manually change it to succeeded, failed, or cancelled. But that's probably the biggest limitation of this, but it's also the only way to do a hostage situation besides protect, which isn't super useful for hostages, I might say, but it's nice because it auto-cancels. Something with hostages as well, I'll show you, if there's shooting like that, the hostage will start walking away, which is kind of a pain in the ass. But if you make him in the same squad as the Op 4, or the team that owns the hostage, he will not run away. But the problem with this is two things. If you have an AI team with the players, they will shoot the hostage, which can prove disastrous if you're not paying attention.
Standing by.
Just kinda there. Okay, yeah, this didn't do what I wanted it to do.
Waiting order.
See, they killed the hostage, which is not exactly what you want to do. Now the other objectives, get in vehicle, that's mainly for players, move, this is simple. Neutralize and protect, that's useful for, let's say you have a
Standing by.
high value target right here, this officer who does not look like an officer at all. You'll want Op 4 and Independent to neutralize him. %1 will just be replaced by Officer. And then you'll want Blue 4 to protect him. And then that's just really easy, they'll just get a notification. And let's say you want them to hold a point. Something that's useful in the environment tab is skip time. It'll black out their screen, and based on how long you set it, it'll black out their screen for different times. And it'll say like X hours, minutes, days later. It's just nice if you want it to become dark. Let's make it 1 AM. Weather is really simple. You can change the fog to rainy, overcast, cloudy. I'm not going to change it because it's annoying to deal with. Oh, no, I didn't change it. Another camera control that's useful if you are controlling the dark and it's super dark. Zeus has night vision eyes, and he also has thermal eyes. You can change this just by pressing N. I'm going to go ahead and change the time real quick to 6 o'clock. That sounds good. Explosives are really nice if the players are going off of the objective you want them to. So I'm just going to have, say, a hunter.
Awaiting order.
You want him to go all the way over here. And for some reason he goes off task. You can go to empty, scroll all the way down to explosives. Oh no. 1 second, it appears forgot to fix the tickets. Alright, now that I demonstrated to you why you need to pay attention to your tickets, I'm going to show you my example that I was trying to show you before I was rudely interrupted. First I need to place spawn. I just chose a smaller scenario just for the fun of it. Now I'm going to spawn a hunter.
Standing by.
It doesn't really matter what type of vehicle. It's better for armored vehicles as the wheels are typically not as well protected. With off-roads it's almost safe to do it, but it's really risky because oftentimes you'll just end up blowing them up. Anyway, I'm just going to put a small IED over here. Now, control groups, while we're waiting for the hunter to get over here. If you select a bunch of items, I'm just going to place a claymore as well, and press control and then any number on above the keyboard, not on the number pad, you can select them. It's just like in RTS, and then it'll automatically select them. It's very useful if you want to suddenly blow up an explosive and you forgot to keep it selected, or you forgot the hunter was coming. And then you can detonate it the same way you blow up a unit with end. Sometimes this won't work, as I showed you with the small IED. But the problem with the large IED is really deadly. It didn't kill them, but... One second, let me get this fucktard to stop moving. He's pretty badly hurt, whereas the smaller IED doesn't kill anybody. He might have had a passenger. No, he didn't have a passenger. So the large IED is kind of safe, kind of not. It really depends on the vehicle. But the object grouping is really nice for that. Now, for when that happens, if you wanted to take a screenshot like you were really good with F12 and you knew the buttons, just press backspace, and your HUD goes away except for the little nice eye icon here, and you can just take a screenshot like this. There you go. Press backspace to bring your HUD back up, E to bring the edit menu back up, just because I like the edit menu. Now J is normally what you see in the map, but is disabled by default in Zeus. This is useful if you wanted to see who's on, because the P menu just keeps everybody, even if people disconnect. It's also useful if you're an admin. Now, I'm going to show you some more advanced unit placement. I'm going to go ahead and spawn a group of Spec Ops, small UAV team, which is not super nice.
Standing by.
Spawning this for two reasons: to show you two limitations. Right now, you can rotate the entire group, but if you notice in the map, you can only rotate the single unit, even if they are all selected. Another limitation is with this remote control module, you can't place it in the map. You also, for some reason this guy gets two darters, I don't really know why. You can't control these darters because you're a UAV. You can't control a UAV as a UAV, which can be a pain in the butt if you wanted to control a UAV. A way around this is just spawning a UAV, and it spawns a fake AI pilot in there. See? AI pilot, AI gunner. And you can just use the remote control to do that, or you can just use your lightning to blow it up. Which, the lightning's actually kind of touchy. It doesn't kill that easily.
Awaiting order.
Like, you can strike right next to somebody, scare the shit out of them, but they won't die usually. In this case they did, but it's not the most deadly weapon you have in your arsenal, because you also have fire support. Fire support is actually really nice. You can do a gun and run. I'm just going to choose a wipeout. That lets you select what plane if you wanted to do a team specific one. This is the area where people can be hurt in if they're not in cover. And the arrows show what direction the plane's coming from. With something like a 230mm rocket, the arrows still show where it's coming from. The red is the area everyone's going to die in, even if you're in cover. The yellow is where everybody not in cover is going to die as well. That's just people, not vehicles. And anything outside of the yellow is not going to die, but is still at risk for being wounded. I'm going to skip the time ahead real quick, just to demonstrate something more cool as well. At night, if you want to be all tactical, I should say, because there's not really too much use for this with map markers and such, you can give this IR grenade for helicopter pilots. It doesn't really help AI pilots, but it does help helicopters. It's something only visible in night vision. It's a silly little flashing infrared grenade to help helicopter pilots land. You can also place smoke shells, which they're kind of like throwing grenades except 100% accurate. You can also just delete them if you don't need them anymore. I hope I covered everything for you, and if you have any questions, and in case I left something out, just feel free to ask me in the comments and I'll be happy to help you out.